asymmetrical bets. Like there's really not a lot of downside and pretty much unlimited upside. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Curiosity Class. Today, I am super excited to be joined by a huge mentor of mine, the one and only Bill Gurley. Just kidding. Kind of. Not really. Bill wrote a book. It's called Runnin Down a Dream. How to thrive in a career you actually love. I had to read the subtitle. Bill is awesome. I've listened to him in a couple of podcasts, and I didn't know he wrote a book. And so, for those of you that don't know, I've been a huge reader my entire life. I've always really enjoyed reading. I used to wake up early to read Harry Potter, and it's something that I've tried to continue throughout my life. Two things I love is reading and podcasts. So I figured, why not do a podcast about a book? So I'm about 75% of the way through Run, Down a Dream, and I want to talk today a little bit about the things and lessons I've gotten to take away from it so far. But just before that, a quick word on books in general. I think books and reading, especially nonfiction, is one of these, they call it asymmetrical bets. Like there's really not a lot of downside and pretty much unlimited upside. I've heard it said that, a book isn't the cost of the book, it's actually what you can get from it. So, like Brandon Turner always talks about, like, if you spend $20 and you buy a book, he says that the odds that you're going to make millions of dollars in your career is like pretty high because you're getting someone's knowledge. So if you pick the right author, you're getting this person's knowledge that they've spent 30 years or 20 years, whatever it is, their entire career trying to distill down and write down and get on paper. And you get to absorb that, for $20 or even better, for free at the library, right? If the library doesn't have a book, you can request it and they can get you the book. So for zero monetary dollars, it does take time. But man, what a great way to spend a couple, 20 minutes every day. If you read 5 pages a day, 10 pages a day, you get to absorb these mentors' words that they've spent their careers and life distilling, for free, basically. Like, I think that's just so cool. Like, as someone who tries to find a lot of mentors in life, I just think it's a really, really cool idea. So the other really fun quote that I love, this is from Tim Ferriss. He talked about, I forget when I heard this or when he said it, but he talks about growing up, they were, not, I think they were very, like, solidly middle class. They were not starving for food, but they weren't well off. They weren't wealthy. And he said the thing that he remembers as a kid was there was always a budget for books. And for some reason, I don't know if it's the alliteration, but I've always loved that idea of, like, there's always a budget for books. And if there isn't, like, go to the library and get a book. Like, you should always have a book that you're reading. And so I really, really like that. So I've kind of taken that, with me. And so every time I'm thinking about, I kind of want to read that book, I'll order from the library, or I get it from Amazon. And, I don't really think twice about that. And my Monarch Money account, flashes, hey, you spent this much on Amazon shopping. I'm like, it's education. That's okay. But anyways, so I listened to Bill on a podcast that I really like. And it was My First Million, and he was breaking down the book, and I was like, man, it's so cool that you wrote a book. So, I wanted to dive in and just share a couple key takeaways that I've gotten so far. This is kind of like a podcast book report, if you will. So he's a really great writer. So to start off, each section is broken down between a profile of a person that he's profiling and then a kind of core lesson. So it's really interesting because you don't actually know who the profile is until the end of the chapter. So I'm not going to spoil anything here. So you got to definitely recommend you go out and get the book. So or read the book. If you are interested. But so the first chapter specifically talks about a story that I didn't know, and you learn all about this person. He really kind of pulls you in, and you have this immense love of this character. And then at the end of the chapter, you learn who it is. And it's like that for all the subsequent chapters, followed by a principle. So it kind of says, like, hey, this is a person. You get the life story, and then you get who they are at the end, and it's all people that you've heard of. And then the next chapter is a principle based off of that. So I wanted to read just a couple excerpts of pages that I thought were really interesting and fun. So the first quote that I really liked I highlighted here. So the person, his name's Danny, the character that we're going to learn who it is at the end of the chapter. So Danny is sitting at dinner with his uncle, and basically it was the night before he was supposed to take the LSAT. So the entrance, the law school entrance exam, law school admission test, I think is what it actually stands for. And he's pretty upset by it because he's not really excited. And his uncle says, like, what's going on? Like, what's the matter with you? And Danny's like, man, I'm taking this LSAT. I don't really want to be a lawyer. Like, I don't know what I'm doing, da-da-da. And says that Danny remembers his uncle was super, super mad at him, and he looked like he was going to throw his spoon at Danny. And his uncle said, do you have any idea how long you're going to be dead? Uncle Richard asked. No. I don't know either, but I'll tell you one thing, Uncle Richard said. You're going to be dead a hell of a lot longer than you're going to be alive. So why in the world would you do something that you have no passion around? And I just love that idea. Like, yeah, you're going to be dead a lot longer than you're going to be alive. So you might as well do something you love. Like I think that's really interesting. And I really like that quote. So again, I'm not going to spoil who this is, but definitely read the book to understand and to get the end of the chapter. But the next chapter is the principle. And the principle is, I promise I didn't do this on purpose. The principle is chase your curiosity. And so he breaks down about how, passion is maybe an overused word sometimes because everyone says, find your passion. But a way to cut through some of that, because if you don't know what your passion is, it's a hard question to answer. If someone says, hey, what's your passion? You say, I don't know, right? But an alternative question you can ask is, what are you curious about? And so, again, I think that obviously ties in very well to the podcast of Curiosity Class, but just chasing curiosity and understanding, like, pick something that you're interested in and just like go down a rabbit hole for 20 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour, right? Find some time to just dive deep on something that you're purely interested in. Like, it doesn't have to be, and specifically he writes that it doesn't actually have to be career aligned, right? So a lot of the other profiles in the book showcase that. It's people who are actively doing things that don't, quote unquote, like help progress their career. But it's really interesting. And these people are just like following what they're curious about. And it's a really great read. So again, I'm very much enjoying the book. Again, about 75% of the way done. And who knows, maybe Bill will listen to this and he'll want to come on the pod and we can have a conversation together. But that's it. That's it for now. So again, go and get the book, Runnin Down a Dream, How to Thrive in a Career You Actually Love by Bill Gurley. It's awesome. I'll link to it in the show notes. I don't even get a kickback, but I'll send an Amazon link. And if you do decide to get it and read it, let me know what you think. And thank you, as always, for being with me. Have a great one. Bye, everybody.